A very good day to everyone out there. I hope that everybody is safe along with their family and is taking every safety precaution. I am Keshav and I will be your host for today. In today's episode, we're going to talk about sales. Everything in life is about sales, is a motto living by one such person, Mr. Rishabh Gupta. He's our guest for today and he's going to talk to us a little bit about sales. Let us please welcome Rishabh. Hey Rishabh, welcome to the show.
Hi, Keshav.
How are you
Thank you
doing?
for having me. How's it going?
It's going great. I was just telling everybody how everything in life is about sales for you. Mr. Rishabh Gupta is one such person who believes that sales is a very intrinsic part of life and everything in his life is about sales. Rishabh has had more than 7+ years of experience in the hospitality industry and has done various roles. Even though while doing those roles, he believed sales is an integral part of every aspect of his life and not just in his professional career. So, Rishabh, can you please give a small introduction about yourself so that all our viewers and listeners can also understand your background as well?
Sure. Thanks for the good introduction, Keshav. Right. So, like you already mentioned, most of my experience has been in the hospitality space, so I started off working with one of the top travel companies in the country, Clear Trip, back in 2015. And I was looking after business development, client handling for them for a particular region for them. And then I moved to starting my own company in 2016, which was a hospitality hotel related revenue management firm where we scaled it up to more than 100 plus hotels and a team size of
Oh,
14, 15 people. Where I was completely responsible for client acquisition, traveling up to almost 20, 25 days a month, across this country to the smallest of tier 2 cities, even including all the metropolitan cities as well, and meeting hoteliers, say, of a 4 star to resort properties and all kinds,
oh,
right? And then of course in 2018 is when I actually we were a 2-year-old company and we were doing good, and then we actually pivoted to a software company, and for that I had to move to Bangalore. And and since and then I was working on getting clients for a software product on board, for my own company, and then later for the startup. And of course, then later, then I've since I've joined Wishup. Yeah, it's almost been a year now, and it's been a brilliant time with for me. And yes, I think that's about it. That's how my journey has been.
that's amazing. Thank you so much for such a lovely introduction. I'm sure there's a lot to learn from you. You've done various roles. You have had your own startup, and
I hope so.
yeah, I hope everybody out there gets some meaningful insights from our conversation today. So, like I said in the
Perfect.
beginning, today's conversation is going to completely revolve around sales. So, yes, definitely it'll help all the sales representatives. But even if you're not a salesperson, I'm sure Rishabh over here will have some lovely insights, and I'm sure you'll be able to take something out of this conversation. Let me just directly dig to the and move straight to the conversation and dig right into the question rather than beating around the bush, because I know a lot of people in sales believe that you need a fancy degree from an Ivy League college. You need XYZ certifications and qualifications. There are a lot of myths around sales. From your
Sure.
experience, what do you think are the biggest myths around sales?
Yeah, I mean, that's that's probably a very good question, but also one that's been overused. But the point is that it's extremely crucial not to follow, not to fall into those traps or the myths, like you said.
Yeah.
So there are actually many, when I think about it. But I mean, some of the most common ones and some of the ones that I really feel, the top myths that people generally confuse sales with, you know, definitely is going to be, people feel that if you're going to target more people, then that's going to get you more results, right?
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, in a broader sense, that's true. The more number of people you touch upon, you're of course going to get better results. But what it essentially means is that it is actually diluting your effort when the idea is to meet or idea is to get into quantity without diluting your efforts, right? So
Yeah.
when you can actually approach 100 prospective clients and give them 5 minutes each, or or either approach say 20 clients but really give them your time and do ample research of them, get to know about them, check their website, get to know what the business does, and then reach out to them. The difference is humongous in between these two. So yeah, of course, quantity is definitely not valued over quality in sales, and that is something that is mm, this rule is flouted by all sales professionals left, right, and center very often. I mean, all those calls you get for B2C products and even B2B products,
Okay.
are falling to that myth. So that, yeah, that would be definitely one of the top myths that I think people confuse with. And then, of course, also I think people feel that somebody who can understand the business that they're into is good enough. That much is good enough to make a sale. Just telling them about the business is good enough to make a sale. But I truly believe that making a sale is also a lot about picking on those subtle cues and
Yeah.
getting into the details of things. And just even if you are very well versed with your business, even if you know every feature that's out there, everything about it, every pricing plan, or any question that they might have, you have the answer to, you might
Yeah.
still not end up selling,
Yeah.
because it's not just the information exchange that is causing the selling, right? If
Yeah.
it was just the information exchange, one could just exchange the information in so many different ways. There's a level of persuasion involved, and that persuasion comes from trust, that persuasion comes from authenticity, and so many other things. That I'm sure we discussed throughout the course of this interview. But more importantly, what we need to understand is that just knowing about the business, even if in utter detail, is not sufficient enough to make a sale, but it requires something more than that. And
True.
contrary to popular belief, sometimes if you don't know enough about a business, even then you can make a sale, just if you understand the requirement, or just you. So there are other angles to it
Yeah.
which people miss out on conveniently, or sometimes do not focus as much on. And
Yeah.
and feel that if you know about a business, or you do that business yourself, you can make a sale, which I think is a big myth as well.
That's amazing. I just want to touch upon one of the points that you said in terms of trust, right? So that
Sure.
is something that you mentioned, and I know
Right.
trust is a very huge term, especially in sales, right? And it's not very easy to gain the trust of a customer or a client that easily, especially
Right.
for a sales representative. A lot of people believe there's a lot of practice involved in this. How do you gain trust of your customers, of your clients?
I think I mean there's a very straightforward answer to that, in my opinion. And you can build trust in sales, or even outside of sales, or in any walk of life in general, by just being authentic. I mean, I honestly feel that that's the only way to build trust in sales, in professional relationships, in personal relationships as well.
Hmm.
Just that when it comes to personal relationships, we assume that being authentic is the only way to go.
Yeah.
And when you are meeting somebody professionally who's making a sale to you, you doubt their authenticity. So if a salesperson can make sure that the authenticity is well communicated to their prospect,
Hmm.
it's actually half the battle won. It's really about, from that point onwards, it's really about just finding whether the person needs your service or not,
Hmm.
instead of convincing them to buy your service even if they need it. if
Yeah.
if they need it, and you offer the product, there should be no good reason for them to not buy it from you.
Yeah.
So ideally, if you can communicate that authenticity, you can definitely build trust. I think that's the bottom line with sales,
Yeah. So
trust
it's
building.
all about that authenticity. That's
Yes.
raw, right?
Yes. Right.
That's amazing. And why for every sales representative, I mean, trust is definitely one of those qualities that you need to have, right? Like you said, you need to
Right.
be authentic. And I believe for you it might come very innately, and it because for you believe everything in life is about sales, right? So maybe for you it might come as a very innate skill, but there are definitely other skills required in sales, right? It's not just
Sure.
about, hey, you build a really good relation, or you build that trust. you're able to do that particular sale with a
Sure.
particular client. And
Mhm.
each client and each customer varies, right? So according
Right.
to you, what are those 2 or 3 skills that every sales representative definitely needs to have? And I I would really appreciate it if you can give it from your experience rather than those like typical articles that we see top 10 skills required for a salesperson and all of that.
No, 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 I understand. Yeah, I mean, so there are actually there are a lot of qualities, that I would say are irreplaceable.
Hmm.
But some noteworthy ones, and because you mentioned that, although all my answers are from experience, but I'd stress a little more on this one.
Hmm.
I think preempting questions from the prospective client, or just sort of gauging in advance, instead of them taking the effort to communicate a concern that they have, or if you can just preempt what kind of concerns they might have based off of what they're telling you, how they're speaking with you, what they're telling you about their background. I mean, for example, right, if somebody at Wishup, we speak with clients all the time, CXO level guys that are heading well-known startups, well-funded startups, corporates, big companies that have more than 300 plus employees, and they're looking to hire somebody, right?
Yeah.
And if they're looking to hire somebody, and as a sales professional, if I've sold to a CXO level guy who's running a company with 300 professionals, 300 employees,
Yeah.
then I can, be very, very sure that 60% of the concerns that client A and client B has are going to be same. You know,
Okay.
they're based in a similar city. They
Yeah.
are running a team size which is similar. They are a funded startup, so the situation is similar.
Yeah.
They are in both of them are internet businesses, so their channels are similar. And I mean, there could be a lot of concerns which are different. But then
Yeah.
preempting those questions will really get you the edge, because in sales, the biggest challenge is to make sure that you get their time. And if you get their time for 40 minutes, and on that 40-minute, you are just able to cover 5 concerns out of the 10 that they have. Now we need another 40 minutes to cover the other 5 concerns, and
Yeah.
that is where the dropouts happen. That is where you would try to get a meeting, the other person doesn't have the time, or you're booked on that time, or whatever could be the reason, and you don't end up making that sale. So if you can preempt those questions and you can answer that on their behalf in written on your website while you're speaking with them, sometimes they might need it, sometimes they might might need a different version of it, but they would always and always appreciate your effort, that you are probing and you are trying to
Hmm.
answer something that you think that they might be worried about. It shows a lot of empathy. It
Yeah.
shows that you care about the person, you actually are concerned about finding them value.
Yeah.
Otherwise you could just be talking about your product, and and not getting into details of what their concerns could be, right? So
It'll just be more
preempting
like you're
questions.
blabbering stuff or
Yes,
something. Yeah.
yes, I think that is another way to say that could be also to picking on subtle cues from them. So how do you preempt questions, right?
Hmm.
Something that they say, an incomplete sentence, or a concern, or something that they said and then they scrapped off. But you have to pick on those subtle cues, and you have to drive the conversation around them, so
Hmm.
that you know that any concern that they have is taken care of. Because even if they don't bring it up to you, they're not going to purchase or make that, or that cycle sale is not going to happen if they
Hmm.
don't get that question answered. Either they'll get it answered from you, or they'll not get it answered from you. It's always better to
True.
answer it yourself.
True.
So yeah, that's definitely one. I mean, understanding what they're looking at, and of course, it's important that whatever they are looking at is communicated really well to them. Apart from that, it's all the usual skills, like being making sure that your communication is really good. You're good with
Hmm.
articulation. You're authentic. All of the things that I've already mentioned.
Yeah.
Another very good quality that I think is noteworthy and has gotten me most of my sales success has been around the fact that uh, it's you, even though the prospective client knows what he wants to buy,
Hmm.
it's you who have to lead that conversation. I mean, you cannot be led by that conversation from the customer, even though it's always commended, to be a good listener and get all those insights from them before you start telling them about your company or about your product. But eventually, you are the one who have to lead that call, lead that conversation, uh, into a sale. Otherwise it could just you showing them value and they even being able to see value, but
Hmm.
it's just a lot of extra work and a lot of time waste if you don't lead that conversation.
Yeah,
So
could you
there
give
should be a
an
structure to that
example?
conversation and you should know where you want to take them.
Yeah, could you give an example when you say leading the conversation? Is it somewhat like I'm a driver and you're the person is sitting in the behind, or how is the situation work?
Right. So really, I mean, both of my qualities that I mentioned actually are aligned to this, right? If you look
Okay.
at it, preempting a question and answering it on your behalf, even before the person has asked that question, is
Hmm.
something that it speaks a lot about leading that conversation, right? Uh,
Yeah.
a simple example could be if me and my prospect are speaking on the phone, and the person is coming from a place of that he just wants to inquire, he just wants to know about my service, about my product, how we function, what we do,
Hmm.
and I'm answering them, and from that point onwards I have to come up with new questions, new concerns. I have to ask him, when is he looking to hire,
Hmm.
what is the kind of employees looking to hire, or he might just say, no, 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 I'm not sure, I'm just checking up on virtual assistant, I just thought of this is a cool concept.
Hmm.
And I have to make sure that I don't upset, I'm not just pushing the sale into his throat, but I
Yeah.
have to lead that conversation in a manner that I'm able to make a realization for him that yes, this could be a good prospect product for him or service for him that could really benefit him or his business.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he started off with a mindset of just getting to know or just being curious about it.
Yeah.
But you know, nobody decides from the get that they want the new iPhone, right? When it launches, you look at that promo and you are like, okay, I want this product.
Yeah.
That's how it always happens, right?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, there are a lot of iPhone users who want to, who are already aware, who want to get the next one.
That's
But then there are a lot of users who say, I don't want to get the next one. But then the next one comes, and then
yeah.
you look at that promo, and you're like, oh shit, I want this,
Yeah.
right? So
Personally, a OnePlus person.
sure. No, so I mean, I'm not an iPhone fanatic myself, but this speaks a lot about
Yeah.
how humans work, right?
True.
You know, you make a sale to us, and we want to buy it. It's really
Yeah.
as simple as that.
Yeah.
So, especially if you are looking at something, if you're having a having a need for that, then there's definitely a very bright chance that that sale will be closed.
Yeah, I think this is where when you were mentioning about those subtle cues, that also comes into like great significance, right? Because you can't
Sure.
just like that ask for any question and
Right.
expect the client or the customer to just answer it like that, right? You need to understand those small subtle things.
Yeah, that's extremely crucial. I mean, we can't be these the preempting those questions and answering those questions on his behalf could be just can be done, if done poorly, can take the conversation out of context. I mean, you
Yeah.
are leading the conversation, but you are not asking answering relevant questions that the person has in mind.
Yeah.
That is definitely something. It's very important to pick on those cues. That is why I think that that is the reason, that is where you'll build your data from,
Yeah.
that is where you'll build your information about the client from, and
Yeah.
then based off of that information, you can go ahead and ask those questions and answer those questions on his behalf. Right.
Definitely makes sense. And I think it's very important, like all the points that you're mentioning, right? It's definitely something that I think everybody out there will gain a lot of, knowledge from, because this is something you just don't get, say, in your books or in those articles out there, just like that, right? For me personally, it's enlightening conversation up until now. But one thing that's always bothered me personally in sales,
Mhm.
and when I had this conversation, even with my friends, right, who are
Right.
sales representative of different organizations, is that they have done everything until now that you have said. They have followed that structure. They have understood those subtle cues, and they were able to drive that conversation till the end. But a sale doesn't happen because the definition of a sale is very simple. Only when there is a transaction is a sale possible. Where there should be some form of transaction. In many which ways, it's generally money or some sort, something like that, right? So a lot of people don't know how to close a sale. They get stuck in that last step, and I feel that is the most important step, no matter how you do it, right? No matter you follow things by the book or you struggle and do all your research, follow up with the client, do multiple calls and everything, send your proposal, all those things said and done. You're working for 3 long months, and then finally you realize the sale hasn't actually been done because there was no transaction. So I'm sure you might have also faced these things. So how do
Of
you,
course.
yeah, so how do you actually close a sale?
I mean, there are so many elements to it. The question is not how you close a sale. The question is how you lose a sale,
Oh,
right? Because you
okay.
can lose a sale by not doing any of these things. So sales is going to be a very unique process. Let me just make it clear.
Hmm.
I by no means mean to convey that there's just one ground rule of doing sales.
Hmm.
It's an innovative and a creative field, and that is the reason that I love this field and I like doing it. So
Yeah.
every company has its own process, every company has its own way. In fact, every person that is part of the sales team might also have their own process and their own way of doing it.
Hmm.
So not everybody banks on building trust. Some people are better at doing something else and they try to do that, and and then we can play around a little bit in that area as well, right? So but when you say what I do to make sure that a sale is closed, right? So um, I mean, like I mentioned, there could be so many things that, so ideally I would say a short answer to that would be to do everything right
Hmm.
eventually gets you the sale, right? But it
Yeah.
doesn't it's too simple of an answer to
Yeah.
gain anything out of it. So let me just break it down for you, right? So for example, so I mean, you get a lead. You get a lead from your email campaigns, from your referrals, from your ad campaigns, from wherever, right? You get a
Hmm.
lead, and you speak with them. You drop them an email. You speak with them. You get in touch on a quick call, and most crucial part is to actually qualify that lead, right? To understand whether this particular person even can buy in the long term from me or not. That's the first thing. If
Yeah.
you go off and you start talking with them and you start pitching your product to them and do everything do everything right, lead that conversation, preempt those questions, build trust, build authenticity, they'll talk with you, they'll do everything. But
Hmm.
if that person doesn't need your service, he'll appreciate the relationship and that conversation and will say you do a brilliant job, you guys are doing a brilliant job, best of luck to you, and he'll do everything in his capacity to make sure that it's a good relationship. And I appreciate a good relationship nonetheless,
Hmm.
but not on my professional hours, right?
Okay.
i'm
Yeah.
not i'm not there to make friends at that point of time,
Yeah.
right? um, I'm there to bring results for my company. I'm there to make an impact. And even though it might be a good conversation every once in a while, if there is no sale, then honestly, or not necessarily a sale, but at least a promise of a sale anytime in the future.
Hmm.
uh, just qualifying that lead, whether they even need your service. I mean,
Yeah.
somebody, if you are somebody selling employees, and if you're speaking with somebody and that person is not a business owner,
Hmm.
then it's a clear sign that they are not looking to hire somebody, right? And
Yeah.
even though it's a great conversation with them, it's just not feasible for us to think as a scaled up company to
Hmm.
say that we'll keep in touch with this guy and wait for the time that they become a business owner and they are eventually looking to hire, right? That's just
Yeah.
not a that's not a very lucrative plan.
Yeah.
So qualifying them in the first 2 minutes of the conversation, in fact, I would go ahead and say that, right? Probably the first, after the pleasantries are exchanged, your laser focus should be to make sure whether this person can buy today, tomorrow, or anytime in the future. Even if it's anytime in the future, even if it's anytime you're not sure when, it's
Hmm.
still worth your time. But if that
Yeah.
client doesn't, or that lead doesn't qualify, then it's not worth your time, right?
Yeah.
And so because you mentioned what closes the sale, one, make sure that you do that. Make sure that you're building the authenticity, make sure
Yeah.
that there is trust, make sure that once there is a need, you're able to align your product to that need.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're articulate with your words, you are able to communicate, you are able to respect your client's time,
Yeah.
in general, and you're also able to communicate that you respect their time,
Yeah.
not just inside your heart, but this is something that they should know very very clearly, that I'm here to bring value to you, I'm not here to
Hmm.
waste your time. If I end up wasting your time, then I don't want to waste your time. I'm okay with cutting off this conversation. But by no means do I intend to waste your time or take up your time, or or call you up every day or very often, or
Hmm.
drop you emails so often. So now, coming back to your question, I don't want to digress and make it diluted,
Yeah.
but anything, anything out of these things that I mentioned and so many more,
Hmm.
anything could go wrong and that sale cannot go.
Yeah.
So, in my way, if in through my point of view, if you ask, ask what are those things, that are, the number one is definitely going to be building trust and being authentic. That's
Yeah.
for sure. And then everything else comes after that. Lead qualification is a close second. If you
Hmm.
are because if you have just these two, you still can make a sale. If you know that the customer wants to
Yeah.
buy, you have a service and he trusts you. This is good enough.
Agreed.
This is your ideal sale,
Ex-
because they can trust you. You have a product to offer, and they have a need. That's all you need.
Yeah.
There's nothing much more than you need than this. So yeah, that would be the top two
And they are in a
things.
position to actually buy whatever you're selling. Right. So that
Yeah,
as
I
well.
mean that is part of the lead qualification.
Yeah.
Whether they're in a position to buy, whether they need your service, all of that is part of qualification. I
Yeah.
will spend my time speaking with them and use their time on my calendar only and only when I know that this person is financially capable, has a need, fits my long term value proposition for my company, and a lot of other things. But they
Hmm.
all come under lead qualification. So yes, lead qualification would be one of those things. The top,
Amazing.
the top three things.
And
Yes,
you can correct me if I'm wrong over here, right? But from what
sure.
you were saying, I also understood there's a lot of mindset that's being played in this, right? There's that you have to understand from the beginning itself to which direction you're moving towards. Having that right mindset as to who you're targeting, why you're targeting them, and all those things is also a very big thing, which again, are not a lot of people actually talk about, right?
So that was just to get back to my earlier point. I think when I said that we are the one leading that conversation, right? So that is
Hmm.
exactly what I meant.
Okay.
To iterate what you were saying, leading your conversation, checking on the structure, knowing and watching that entire thing from a bird eye point of view instead of just from a two-dimensional point of view.
Hmm.
So yes, that's definitely right. And yes, I mean you're correct when you say that. I would agree to it. Yes.
That's amazing. I mean, yeah, I mean, I am learning a lot of things over here. Certain new things, even from our previous conversations, I feel like there were a few things I learned back then. But I think every time when I'm talking to you and yeah, keeping the episode aside and all of that, I personally am learning a lot of things from this conversation as
Sure.
well, right?
Good
And
to
it's
know.
helping me well understand things from a very different perspective, which is amazing. And I can
Happy to
see,
add value.
thank you so much. I can see that life is about sales for you, right? Again, going back to the whole broader topic for this episode and everything, I just want to know is that one last thing, right? What is it in sales that is so exciting for you? Because when I started out working, sales was the one thing I hated because I couldn't sell. And I felt this is a skill that I need to keep learning again and again and again and again, but I still kept failing. I was told to sold. I was in an organization. I was given a product and I was told, you have to sell 10 of this. You get your sales target and everything, right? So I couldn't sell for my own reasons. But what is it that excites you about sales? Because I can see a lot of excitement, a lot of energy coming from you when you're talking anything and everything about sales.
Well, it's that's what I do. So yes, I'm generally I'm excited about that, and even while I was not just part of a sales team at a company, even while I was doing my own company,
Hmm.
like you've already mentioned, it's about, so particularly I would say things that excite me about sales. Number one, and the most important is that it's a really good feeling to actually connect with people from different walks of life, and I don't mean it by connecting as in just getting to know them, or for my general exposure, not for that reason, but actually able to connect with them,
Hmm.
right? Connect at an emotional level, um, in such a manner that they are able to trust you
Yeah.
even when they've not met you,
Mm.
right? When they've not seen you in most times, like if you're not connecting over a video call, they've not even seen you. So
Yeah.
just by speaking with them, talking relevant things, talking things that you feel that they would resonate with,
Yeah.
and they eventually do, that trust is built and that sale is made. Do you not think that's exciting?
It's definitely exciting. I mean,
I mean, somebody who is not based in your part of the world could be
yeah.
somebody who is based in a different city, even if you're in the same country. Somebody who is in a different, who does an extremely different, business, or has a different personal life, professional life, is in a different age group,
Mm.
comes from a completely different background, might be from a different ethnicity, right?
Yeah.
and you can, without them seeing you or talking to you, or I mean seeing you or meeting you, you are able to build synergy with them, you're able to build trust with them, and you're able to recommend them something which they're willing to take, which recommendation they're willing to take, and they are saying, okay, yes, I trust you, let me go ahead and make this purchase. So just the fact that, and they could, and more importantly, especially with B2B sales, which is where I spend most of
Yeah.
my time, was earlier with speaking with hotel owners across the country, and now with business owners across the world at
Mm.
Wishup. So what I've realized is that the fact that they are doing a different thing, and they expect you to know as much about their business as they know, because
Yeah.
they are, the customer is only worries about himself, right? And so do we.
Yeah.
When we are a customer, we worry about whether the pant fits me or not. I'm not going to think whether this pant fits somebody else.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with this pant, it's a good pant, why should the pant be blamed? No, it's about me, right? It's about
Yeah.
the trouser that I'm buying should fit me. So that's how everybody thinks, and that's how a B2B customer is going to think. And if he feels that he runs a digital marketing agency based out of New York,
Mm.
and if I don't know enough about a digital marketing business based in New York, he's not going to sell. He's not going to buy from me.
Yeah.
So that is another big thing that excites me: the fact that you can connect with, not only connect with them, but actually build trust with them from different walks of life, and they are willing to trust you and say, okay, you know enough about my business, and what you're saying is aligned with my interest, and yes, I'm
Yeah.
going to buy your service or your product, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, that really excites me. Those two things will be the.
So you can correct me if I'm wrong. From what I understand, the two things are: one is there's a huge thirst for knowledge that it's almost like you're craving for knowledge, more and more things you want to learn. And two is building a really good network and connection with people. Are those the two things, or am I getting it completely wrong?
No, no, no. You're right. I mean, that's probably a little too generalized, though. But yes, you're right. I mean, speaking with them and winning trust of people that are from a different walk of life, who have nothing in common with you.
Yeah.
That's a satisfaction which you will find nowhere else, right?
Yeah.
And doing it in and out, every day is something that every time you're on a call with a new lead or a new client, it's going to be a fresh start. They could be coming from anywhere. They could
True.
be doing any business. So yes, and yeah, you're right about the networking thing. Yes,
Amazing. Thank you so much for being so patient and actually answering all the questions. I know you have a very
been a
busy
pleasure.
schedule and a busy life in general. Thank you so much for taking your time out. I thank you from
No,
the bottom of my heart.
no
To
problem,
all
Keshav.
the,
I really enjoyed it. Thanks for hosting this and asking these questions. A lot of times one doesn't think about them, so it's good to look at them from a different point of view and answer them for you and for myself as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much. To all the people listening and watching this, feel free to comment your thoughts if you feel you have any value or insight to add. I'm sure a lot of people in the world would love to hear your voice. So please feel free to comment your insights in sales for any of the questions, or if I haven't asked those questions and you just want to give a particular insight, feel free to do so as well. um, I will be back again probably next week or so with a whole different topic. We'll be looking forward to seeing you there. Yeah. Thank you so much. Until next time, stay home, stay safe with your family. Bye.
Sure.